Hey, what's up, St. Louis? The big fella, Demetrius Johnson, DJ. And we're going to call off the air with the big fella. I mean, it's going on right now. We're about to have on the show um, Kim Gardner, our prosecuting attorney for the city of St. Louis. Hopefully, I'm going to let it roll for a minute so we get some more folks to start watching this. But we had some um, very interesting situation with Kim Gardner yesterday on TV. She did 60 minutes uh, interview, and she really kind of told the story on what's going on, what's happening in St. Louis, how she's been treated. I just had her on in my show in Detroit. And you guys, if you have not watched it or heard us, you can catch me in Detroit every Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday from 6 to 8 in Detroit. I mean, it's a very interesting show in Detroit. But what I'm going to do shortly in the next few minutes, let to get a few more people on here, I'm going to get Kim Gardner on. And I'm telling you, folks, it's going to be a great interview. We're going to call what we call a follow up. It's off the air with the big fella. So Kim Gardner is going to be on talking about. If you guys saw her interview yesterday, you had to be very, very impressed with Kim. Kim is what I would say is a true fighter and a warrior. She fights hard. She goes at it. She does her best. I'm going to bring Kim in right now. We're going to get ready to get started because I know um, it's going to be important that y'all listen to what Kim Gardner has to say. And the ones who share it or whatever you have to do, because we're going to have a good conversation with prosecuting attorney Kim Gardner of the city of St. Louis, who I feel get just treated unfairly by his racist ass system. So are we ready to do it? By further ado, are we ready to go? So let me bring in my girl. What's up? What's up, Kim? How you
Hey DJ, how
doing?
you doing?
I'm doing good. How you doing
Fine,
tonight? Hey, first of all, I want to thank you very
fine.
much. I know we had you on in Detroit earlier this evening, and I want to just have a one-on-one with you, and we talk. Yesterday, Kim, it was a powerful interview yesterday with you in 60
Mhm.
Minutes, talking about some of the things that you're going through uh, in this community. How did that interview come about, Kim?
Well, it came about because we were the rare city as well as prosecutor that I had to use the KKK Act to sue the status quo actors that want to prevent not only reform in the city, but the elected official that is elected by the people to reform the criminal justice system. And we were the rarest. I'm the rare prosecutor. Actually utilized this tool to address the impediments that are put forth by the status quo actors led by the St. Louis Police Officer Association with Jeff Rorter and other actors that we know. So that's how this interview came about. And also, we are number one in officer involved shooting cases, more than major cities. We're actually by far exceed major cities in officer involved shootings, as well as we are the ground zero for post Mike Brown to elect the reform minded prosecutor to have the world see around the country and the world. We need police accountability. So we are the start for the whole conversation of the reform movement. And so it's so fitting that this conversation is actually being documented by 60 Minutes because we're on the national news all the time.
But when 60 Minutes came in and sat down with you, I mean, they had to be blown away. I was watching Jeff Rorter, the with the police union. This guy got to be the biggest racist I've ever seen in my life. I mean, and he's blatant with it. He almost in the interview I got, he almost was trying to blame you for the issues that's going on in our community. Talk about that.
Well, he has blamed me. I mean, he's been a critic of me. He's a proud critic of me. He's been a individual who is one of the most divisive uh, racist figures that has led the charge in terms of the divide and the trust in this city. He's been calling for my removal by force or by choice. He's actually got on national media and threatened me and threatened other progressive-minded prosecutors who came to support me in terms of the attacks, the unprecedented attacks that I faced since being in this position. And we all know it's not about me, but it's what I represent. I represent the people, and the people elected me overwhelmingly in 2016 and again in 2020 to not only reform the criminal justice system we all know needs to be fixed, is to dismantle it and rebuild it fairly and justly for everybody. But we have to have real conversations about police accountability and mistrust in how we police in our city. And this is not saying that there's bad police officers and that's the only problem. But what we have, and we see right now, we have the St. Louis Police Officer Association, which by the Washington Post said is the most aggressive, egregious police union in the country, wants to stop change. And enough is enough.
But when they talked about, when you was talking on 60 Minutes yesterday, they was asking Rorter some questions, and he made the statement. He said she don't like, almost referring, she don't like police officers. She don't like police officers. What is that? What is that?
I don't like I don't like people like Jeff Rorta, who was a former police officer that was fired for writing false police reports and was not credible. And so, why is this person leading an organization that actually represents the hardworking men and women that do their job every day without fanfare or accolades, and they have a hard job? And so, you have to say, why do we have a Jeff Rorta, who is the business manager of the St. Louis Police Officer Association? Why is he here? Jeff Rorta is there because there's some powerful people, in spite of all the record of Jeff Rorta being a divisive figure, in spite of what you saw on 60 Minutes to articulate the bias and the actual privilege and not actually having to care about what he's saying and have no repercussion on the things that he says, even to 60 Minutes. Why is a Jeff Rorta here? He's here because there's very powerful people that want to keep things the same. And that's why I said in that interview, I will not kiss the ring of the status quo tacticians that want to keep this city divided.
But how do you stop that when you have a guy like Jeff Rorter who's supported by the people who's got a lot of money, who's telling them to keep this thing divisive and don't allow you to do your job, coming up with all kind of different uh, scenarios or indictments on you, and always have you spending your time legally fighting for your reputation. I ain't even talking about your job, about your reputation and trying to discredit you. How? What do we? What do you? What do you do? How do you get past that?
But light is the best disinfectant, DJ. When we have to understand that until we shine a light on what is going on by the St. Louis Police Officer Association, led by Jeff Rorta, and the rhetoric and the misinformation, the lies that he's able to get a platform to actually have nobody fact check anything he says. It just take it as fact. And that's the intersection of sexism and racism, that because I am the first African American to ever be elected in this position since 1821, how the word of a fire police officer is more credible than the elected prosecutor by the people. So someone has to say, who keeps giving this person an actual platform to even have a voice? And that's why we start calling out all these people who the first thing they run to is Jeff Rorta. Jeff Rorta has no track record of credibility in any instance, even within the police department. He is a person who is there because he's the last line of defense for reform in the city of St. Louis. And I ask you, DJ, we need to call out the mayor. Remember the mayor originally called out and said Jeff Rorta needs to be removed? What happened to that? It's called power. People are afraid of the big, overgrown police union because what happens when you fight for what's right and equal justice under the laws for everybody, even police that they talk about, I don't like. When you talk about accountability, then the police union will come after you in ways that they will ruin your credibility, where you even start to believe that it must be true. Because if they say it loud enough and everybody gives them a platform, then somehow you are actually looked upon to demonize you and cause decision. But what they are not used to is having someone, in spite of, I'm in these rooms by myself, and how I'm talking to you is how I talk to them. And I tell them what they're not going to do. What they're not going to do is continue to have lies and misinformation to put out in the community when we are so divided, when we know people in our communities that you grew up with, I grew up in North City, we want police more than anybody just to respect us and treat us fairly and justly. And we want change. And until we have real conversations about how we police, as well as how we not only prosecute, how we even sentence people, and how we are fair, we're going to continue to have the very divide that makes it so easy for individuals to commit a crime in front of everybody and no one comes forward. Because you can't ask the community to do what you even know the police won't do, regardless of whether you are black or white in the police department. It's something
Mhm.
called the blue code of silence, and that is real.
So, okay, the community have a no snitching deal, right? In the hood. You know, snitches get stitches. You snitch, you going the police got a no snitching deal going. So what makes them any different? And I'm not saying all police officers. So I don't want anybody to call and say he's talking about all police officers. Because some of my best friends are police officers. Lieutenant Colonel Ronnie Robinson, Lieutenant Colonel Doyle. Those guys are my best friend, some of my best friends. Okay. But there are people who would say, why don't you tell him? And then they see what's happening to you. They have deliberately tried to discredit you, discard you, and destroy you. In fact, you earlier you pressed charges and you went and pressed charges against a threat. How they say they was going to destroy you. Whatever happened?
We know what happened. It's the same thing that when we talk about mistrust in the criminal justice system, it's the same mistrust that they're displaying for the elected prosecutor. When a threat is lodged upon me, then somehow that threat is taken as a joke, is actually discredited, and actually it's just trial technique. It's nothing but a trial and defense tactic, and that's a lie. And that's where we have to address mistrust. When you have the status quo tacticians that control how people investigate, how some police engage the community, how you even bring a case to the prosecutor's office. We have to understand this is what we're talking about reform, because there are good men and women in the police department to do their job every day. And they can do a good job, but they need to do a better job. If you have people like Jeff Rorta who causes dissension, even when our police department, we got a Black Police Union, Ethical Society of Police, and the St. Louis Police Officer Association. So even within their own organization, they're divided. But they don't want to talk about the division. Only time we hear about it is when you have people like Lieutenant Captain Doyle that you talk about, who actually showed that this person, and I'm not going to go into it because I don't know all the facts. I'm like you, I'm listening to the outside. But the power of someone saying you can't be chief and you're qualified. I mean, right there, it's even politics and putting the chief.
Mm-hmm. Right, right. And let's talk about the threats. I was amazed when you talked about the threats you was getting from the various people, the letters of threats. Talk about the threats that you were getting at your office in the mail.
Well, DJ, it's not only just mail, it was being placed on my car. It was
Wow.
people saying that I should be hung up by the tree, KKK. I should be shot. I'm gonna read some of the, if you want me to read some of the mails, I
Yeah, I
can.
want you to
You're
read.
the only
No, I want
person
you to.
that's gonna put
No,
this out here.
I want you to read
Okay.
it. Take your time and read as many as you want. Folks, I want y'all to hear
Well,
this.
I got one piece
This
of
is what
mail
we're talking about.
that
Go
had
ahead.
that had actually a fecal matter on the. I can't show you the picture. Fecal matter on the page that was sent to my office. It says my BMs are much darker than you. S is the color of N. You ho. I'm all
Wow.
kind of names. Pig S, ugly black N. Kim Gardner. It's my picture. I'll show it to you. It's my picture with a piece of doo doo. You can't really see it. Hold up. I'm trying to get it
Wow.
right so you can see it.
Wow.
We have you need your tongue cut out, lips sewed shut. You are a whore for a person that they always talk about that I know, which I don't know. You are a effing C whore. Your parents said you were a effing waste of sperm. In who in the F do you think you are? And it goes on. I hope the KKK gets you and strings you up from the biggest oak tree. Be the best thing that ever happens, you NC. Nothing but a liar, low life, crooked NB. This is what Jeff Rorta and the people help the white nationalists put out. It's a piece of literature. I'll read it. This was at my house. Kim Gardner is the worst prosecutor in the United States. Police union spokesperson Jeff Rorter. This is what the people who came to my house and protested me, white nationalists, lawless, corrupt. Kim Gardner is a criminal. You know, I'm a tyrant. I'm anti-constitution. I confiscated firearms in a violation of the Second Amendment. You know, I'm not going to get into that case. I'm the best Soros de-esser sucker. You know, this is a picture of me on my campaign with a Hitler. They were going around defacing my my campaign sites. I hope you get the virus. Hope it takes your last in low life breath. You are a scum in all the way. And actually, Gardner, you are one stupid in if you can spell fill in the blanks. Then this is from the police union. You know, when they were calling themselves having a protest in my office. Everybody forgets Jeff Rorter protested with the police in my office. They have the canine police kind of, you know, card talking about March 14th, Kim Gardner, Hypocrisy Palooza. And it says, this is talking about me, an investigation and all this stuff about me, basically hoping that something happens to me. You know, the Grinch that stole justice. Stop making trouble, you NC. They need to lock your crooked lion NA up. You are crooked lowlife and always will be ugly too. And this is, it goes on, and they've had their addresses, and we've had police investigate this, but of course I've had police officers say, I'm sorry, we can't do anything about this. And of course, as the prosecutor, I can't direct anyone.
Time out. Why in the hell they're saying they can't do anything when people are threatening your life? I just want to know
Because
what
DJ, because
what?
because it's, you know, there's different levels of threats that we have to turn over. We have turned over some to the police as well as the feds, and there's
Oh my
different
God.
level of threats that are being investigated. Because I'm the victim, I can't actually direct what is investigated, how things are investigated. It's up to
Whoa.
someone
Oh,
else to
time
actually have
out.
to take
Time
upon
out.
themselves.
Time out. Time out. Time out. Time out. They get letters and they saying you need to be shot in the head. You need to be hung up, you in. And you all this. I don't know what is what is not a threat about that. Of someone saying you need to be shot in the head, we're gonna string you up and hang you, and that's not a threat.
They said that's free speech, and that's not hate
Who in the
speech.
hell said that's free speech?
Well, I'm going to say that this is driven by both the local police as well as the feds, and we have to understand that there is
Oh my
standards
God.
to hate speech, and they have to. And I can't direct because I am the quote so-called victim. They have to investigate that, and you know there are very different laws with state and federal laws in terms of hate speech that
Kim
they have to pursue.
Gardner.
But
Kim Gardner. People are threatening your life. You're an elected official. Am I right or am I wrong? You're an elected official.
yes,
You have to have protections. And you're telling me they are saying, well, it's borderline of free speech. Is free speech saying, I'm going to hang you, nigga? That's free speech? You nigga B,
well,
I'm going to do that
some
to you?
not all.
Wow.
Not so some it has emails and mails mailing addresses associated with, and some does not, and so it's not as easy as we think. But we know that there's a threat, and we know that we do have people looking into this. So I'm not going to say we don't have the local police as well as the feds looking into this, but what has been told prior to this, now I have all this interest in this has been happening before a long time ago,
Yeah.
and
You
now
talked
all of
about
a
it though.
sudden people want to say, they want to say now we want to figure out what's going on, and I'm like, where were you at when this has been taking place? I mean, this has started day one. I'm not saying it's just because it's me, but we see that there are extremes with this insurrection behavior and with this kind of attacks that are so tinged with racism and sexism, that this ability to cause this much vitriol against a person that you don't even know, that you would take the time to write this, We saw what happened in Michigan with the governor. So there was a plot to actually take her out because she was asking for a mask mandate in the state of Michigan. So what do you think that the African American female prosecutors who've been like Kim Fox had white nationalists rubbing her face against their genitals? What happens with when you had Marilyn Mosby when she came here? There was a someone leave a message that says, you know, you should be picking cotton and talking about what we shouldn't be doing because she came to support me. So we have these examples of progressive African American female prosecutors that have been attacked in ways that even our male progressive colleagues don't have. And it's a different type of vitriol. And this is not to say we're victims, but at some point, somebody has to see what happened in the Capitol. These conversations start to actually energize a undertone that we see, which is driven by this new kind of fake patriotism of we're going to overturn a government, and this is a movement of insurrection that we know in Missouri is led by some top people in our state, and we got to address why are we here. But until we have real conversations about race and how when you talk about African American taking these positions like the prosecutor, when you have certain undertones that we know exist in our police departments with the blue line punisher, with these different things that are okay to actually stand by. And we saw what Jeff Royer says that some people don't think has a racial undertone, but I disagree wholeheartedly. It does.
When you heard Jeff Royer interview yesterday, we were watching it live on TV, what was going through your mind when you heard how he speak? And he may, I mean, I continue to run in my mind how he alluded to the fact that you don't like police officers. I mean, that just, who in their right mind would try to pin that on a person who's here to try to protect and preserve the life and the fairness and the liberties of everyone? What what goes through your mind on that?
Because Jeff Royer thrives off of enemy, and Kim Gardner is an enemy because I'm trying to reform the system. So he thrives off of enemy, and of course we like to point fingers, and so now it's me because I'm going against the big machine of the FOP, and they got to have a person to attack, and Kim Gardner is a person to attack, but Kim Gardner represents the people. And the people are the ones that want accountability for police. And the people are tired of Jeff Royer. And so the people have spoken multiple times that they want reform in the city of St. Louis, and the people are not going to stop. I represent the people that they think that they can ignore, that they think they have impunity to do whatever they want and can do things however they want because it's about the will of the people. And we get away from Jeff Royer is driven by tax dollars. Because guess what? The police that pay the union fees are with city money that we give them, we pay them. Until the people start engaging this monster of a entity that we are so afraid to say because you challenge the police association, somehow you're anti-police. I say, look at what happened in Washington, D.C. Look at how there are reports that there are numerous law enforcement agencies around this country that were a part of a coup of our nation's capital. And we talk about protect and serve, law and order. Look at the nooses that were strewn across the TV what sends a message to the world that we have to address racism and this conversation that we have because people are talking about police accountability, that somehow you're not patriotic or you're anti-American. This is the same rhetoric of fear and divisiveness that we know in history that the former president utilized to energize a undertone that we know exists in this country. But now it's so emboldened that now they can storm a capitol and be a part of law enforcement in the military. And we do not say that there's problems in police departments across this country. And by the way, DJ, the FOP as well as the St. Louis Police Officer Association, never one time has they made a statement when that police officer, those Capitol Police, people committed suicide, killed, hurt. Never one time did they send out a message for solidarity, to support and call against violence against law enforcement. Because you know why? Because the rhetoric that even the St. Louis Police Officer Association, before 45 was not elected again, they endorsed the President of the United States. They endorsed the racist rhetoric of someone that told the Proud Boys, stand back and stand by, a known white supremacy group. And this is the behavior, and this is led by the police association in our city with other police associations. And when are we going to hold them accountable that you don't think that this very mistrust of what the community sees is going to affect how we actually come forward when there is the case of these kids being killed and they have witnesses? They're more afraid to call the police because of what might happen, or the possibility of somebody getting hurt, or the possibility of a safety check turning into somebody getting shot, the possibility of somebody being harmed because they try to do the right thing. And so until we have real conversations, it doesn't matter how many police we have on the street. It doesn't matter how many prosecution strategies we have. If we have no trust with the very community that we're asking to come forward, when you can't even hold the very people we see actually causing dissension and divisiveness to the police department and our community, until we get rid of people who supported Jeff Florida, what are you saying to the community?
Kim, when you say that, and when you see the atrocities that are committed, uh, when a police officer take an oath and say, "I'm going to protect and serve this community," and when you see those rules been broken, and no one stands up to fight against it, as a person, let's talk about just as a spiritual person, what does that do to you when you see the injustices? You see something is wrong from a legal perspective. You see it's wrong, and you see the case get dismissed. The Stockley case get dismissed. They don't. He wins. He wins the case. All of it, and you're driving in a car, and the guy say, "I'm going to kill that mother." You know what? Don't you know? And seconds later, he kills him. Is anything called premeditated? If I make a statement that I'm going to hurt somebody, and I commit that, uh, 2 minutes later, I commit what I said I was going to do, how is that not premeditated? Regardless of how I got there, I said I was going to do it, and I followed through. Is that not premeditated?
I agree, and that's where we have to change this. What happens with police officer accountability? And we, as prosecutors, when we charge, we know it's going to be an uphill battle. When we watch the Derek Chauvin trial taking place right now, they're in jury selection. It's going to go on for 3 weeks. It is an uphill battle because the state has approved beyond a reasonable doubt each and every element of the crime charge. But we know that police officers from the Supreme Court, they have a justified use of force standard that is subjective to that individual officer at this at their training, their experience, and what they're perceiving at that time. That's a subjective reasoning of what they fear. And that is a problem that we have to address on a federal level, that standard of how police officers use justified use of force. This is not saying that police officers shouldn't be able to protect themselves when there are real threats, but there are examples that we know. We look at the Philando Castiles. We look at Breonna Taylor's that currently nothing is being done right now. We look at all these examples of people just doing everyday activities, and they're able to be shot and killed without
Mhm.
any ability for a prosecutor to hold that police officer accountable. And DJ, what I'm saying is, this is not just about that case. This is about the integrity of the criminal justice system. If we can't hold someone accountable just simply because of their occupation, what do you send a message to the people who are killing and maiming other individuals in the community? We have to sit there and say, why is this different? And by the way, DJ, if we take the same example, we talk about these young kids being killed on the
Mhm.
street by senseless gun violence, right? And we want people
Mhm.
to come forward. But imagine if the same individual gets to have their friends do the investigation and bring that to the
Mm.
prosecutor for potential charges. What do you think that investigation will be like if I get to have my friends come and say, investigate me in this situation? And this
Mhm.
is not saying that there are not good intentioned police officers that are going to do their job and try to do it fair, but you're biased. The appearance bias you should not be investigating yourself. And when I say that, then that's the the police union has the full force of stopping reform. When I asked for the public integrity unit to have an independent investigation unit to address officer involved shooting cases and funding for our office, it's been stopped by the police union
Well,
because of fear of people coming after them.
yeah, we winding it down now. I appreciate you taking your time. Tell me, doing that interview on 60 Minutes, and we're seeing it yesterday. Reflecting back on what you saw, how did you feel? I'm gonna just tell you, I was proud of you. I mean,
Thank
it
you.
takes courage. You got black men in this city would not stand for nothing. We supposed to protect our women. We won't do it. You have taken on a hell of a fight with people. I mean, because you got some nasty men, white men in this town that will do whatever they can do to try to destroy and hurt you. Where are you getting that power and that strength from to maintain your integrity, your strength, and your courage?
Well, it's the people. It's the people who elected me to put me in this position to make change. And it's the faith in my family and the people who support me and love me and tell me to keep doing the right things in spite of all the criticism. It's the faith that we have to do things in spite of being popular. I don't know a prosecutor who's popular to a lot of people, but I signed up to do the right thing. And I think that when you have people in these positions, I know people say change is not going to come, but imagine if a Kim Gardner or someone in a reform audit is not there in that seat making changes, how far would we be? And I think about the people who paved the way for me. I mean, you said it, DJ. You said if we're looking at the 40s, the 60s, if we said it's too hard, where would we be at right now? And so we have to actually be in these positions making changes and stop worrying about the position, but doing the right thing.
Yeah, we're
Because
winding
what is at
down.
stake is, like you said, it's my family, your family, it's everyone's family in the North City and South City and the whole city of St. Louis that I love. We want change.
Well, let me let you end up on. I'm having you have to make the last statement. What would you tell a young black girl or a young black boy who's looking at you and saying, I want to aspire to be you? What would you tell that young black girl and that young black boy who thought they didn't have no uh, nowhere to go? I think it might be getting a little echo in your ear set or something. But what would you tell them?
Be the change you want to see. It's not about a position. It's not about, it's be the change. These young people have pushed forth for change in our communities. They've marched, they protested, they've caused a lot of change and conversation that we wouldn't have without young people. And we got to have them that not just want to be a Kim Gardner, it's be the best person that they could be wherever they want to be, but stand up and fight for what's right.
Well, I'm gonna say this, folks. Kim Gardner, I'm truly honored to be your friend. Is an honor and a blessing to be your friend. I see the pain in your face sometimes when we talk. I hear your voice, the pain in your voice sometimes when we talk, and when I'm around you. But I see that fight. I'm telling you, there's only one other strong lady I've ever seen like that in my life. That was my mother. And if I can say that you're a strength like my mother, I'm giving you the highest praises I can ever give you. Because that's a woman
Yeah.
I respect with all my heart, my mother. Kim Gardner, I am so proud of you. When I saw you on 60 Minutes yesterday, you know, I started getting emotional. You know what I'm saying? Because you got black men in this city don't have your courage. There are black men in this city will not stand up like you and speak the truth, trying to make it. See, it ain't about your life. Now, see, what I've learned about what I do to help others, my mother always told me the measurement of a man or a person is not what you can do for yourself, but what you can do for others. The work that you're putting in, Kim, how you're changing lives. I mean, even in your diversity, your diverse program, how you sending folks down there to work with me, do community service hours, to do things, to do my Christmas toys, to do my turkeys deal. People who you're giving an opportunity to. It means the world to me, Kim. You're special. You always have me on your team. And I want to thank my man Maurice Foxworth, Mo Fox. Thank you, man, for allowing me to be in Kim Gardner's life. Kim, I respect, I love you. I got your back 24/7. And I don't need Kim Gardner for radio ads or advertising. This is real. This is my love, my little sister. I'm there 24/7 with you. You need us, we're there for you. And I want all our Facebook folks who's watching, who's listening, make sure we buckle up and get behind this lady. Because we ain't gonna get another Kim Gardner for a long time, y'all. We done had some black folks in these offices that done turned their back. You got one right here, ain't gonna turn it back. She knows who she is. She knows where she's come from. She knows where she want to take the direction in this community. Kim Gardner, I salute you. And
Thank you,
thank you
DJ, for
so
having the
much.
courage to have me on. And I appreciate you.
Can I tell you something? You have 24/7 on the Demetrius Johnson Show in St. Louis, on Hot 104.1, on 910 The Superstation in Detroit, and on all my social media. I love you, Kim. Thank you so much. Mo Fox, thank you. Guys, thank you for watching. Kim Gardner, love you, girl. And I'm glad you're not Wesley Bell. Thank you so much. See you, Kim.
Thank you.
All right. All right. Folks, let me tell y'all something. That's important. You see a strong black lady who's fighting to make a difference and make a change. It is truly important that we stand behind her and give her the strength and the power to get things done. It can't only be Kim, it's got to be all of us to protect Kim and work with Kim Gardner. If